Jurassic World toy collection review slash other things time, along with QR codes in order. Okay, on to the first one. First up, we have the Dilophosaurus. Now this guy is from the Dino Escape, from the new Dino Escape when this video is being released, relatively new in Australia. So anyway, this guy is pretty cool. So his ability with his Savage Strike, I'm pretty sure it's called, or something. I'm not 100% sure. Or movement or action thing. Anyway, whatever it is that his frills flare up and he does a roar, and he opens his mouth as an intimidation display, which I think would work in the wild. But anyway, he's pretty cool. And onto articulation. Behind the frills we have some pretty maneuverable arms on a ball joint, legs that move around 180 degree, and a bit of tail articulation just to move the frills around. Overall, pretty cool dinosaur. Now on to the next one. Oh wait, nearly forgot. The QR code. Here you go for all you viewers wanting QR codes. So there's your Dilophosaurus Dino Escape QR code. Next up we have the Drakex, or from Dino Rivals. Overall, a pretty cool design with head articulation to be able to lower the head down, and if you had two different Drakexes, ram them into each other and headbutt, which I unfortunately do not. So headbutting the ground, so they can't headbutt other Drakexes, unfortunately, unless you have two. But it still looks pretty cool. But it can headbutt other things, such as other dinos and other objects, such as conveniently placed big dinosaur eggs. And for articulation, head movement, neck movement, hand movement, leg movement, and tail twisting. And next, also from the same line of Dino Rivals smaller dinosaurs, we have the Herrerasaurus. Now the Herrerasaurus is pretty cool in a nice green, colour scheme. with quite a large mouth once you get it fully open. A good about 80 degree, maybe even 85 degree, not exactly 90 degrees yet, but good try. So, but you probably want to keep your Herrerasaurus's mouth not that far open, just so it doesn't look like he's split his entire jaw bone off, because that looks pretty strange, if I do say so. Anyway, on to articulation, neck movement, arm movement, and leg movement, and tail movement. Overall, pretty cool design. As well as QR code, if the camera focuses, that is. So there's your QR code for Herrerasaurus from Dino Rivals. If you want, you can check out a website to get all different website to get all buy different ones to get QR codes that you want, so you can do that to get your own QR codes that you want. And next up, our first larger scale dinosaur is the Primal Attack Carnotaurus. So with the Primal Attack ability, he's able to move his neck around along with the tail, as well as have a button to bite. I'm pretty sure it's the Sound Strike version of Primal Attack, because it has the sound on it, not the massive bite. So other than that, with articulation, he can move its teeny tiny little arms. Honestly, they're like the size of the first segment of your thumb. You can move around the ankles a little bit. You can move the legs around. But when you move them up enough, you get a nice roar. And when you move it down, he can eat the ground. Tasty ground. Tasty. And now for the QR code of the Carnotaurus. Just stuck in a cord. Just trying to get the angle incorrect. There you go. There's your QR code for the Carnotaurus. Now, next up, at a slightly lower camera angle than the Carnotaurus, we have the Sinoceratops from the Rivals line, I believe. I believe you just heard his or her sound where he or she lifts up its head and crest for like an attack with, or to look around. Very good look. You take a much better look around. But also I could see it doing quite a lot of damage with those head spines. Okay, when it comes to articulation, the Sinoceratops has some pretty basic articulation, moving out hips, moving legs, no moving tail, but also a button to move the head. Be careful with this one, he can actually activate the sound by lifting up his head. Next up, growing in scale once more to the largest scale I believe in this video, we have I believe a deluxe T-Rex all the way back from Fallen Kingdom. Now this is essentially the same idea as with the Spinosaurus and a few other things along the line, except it was released a bit earlier than most of the others. And it's that there's a neck button here, and that opens a dual hinged mouth into a massive bite, which you might recognize from the massive bite Spinosaurus. So it just chomps, and also has no rule, but sometimes that can work out depending on what you want to do. Anyway, when it comes to articulation, front neck movement, front neck movement, back neck movement, finger and hand movement, leg movement, ankle movement, tail movement and rotation, and that's about all. Except the QR code there you go, for all you wanting the QR codes from these dinosaurs. It's a pretty good dino, and you can also get a few facts in the game from the thing. Next up we have the Dimorphodon. So with this, it's my only dinosaur that is able to fly, that is supposed to fly, that flies. Oh, well, it doesn't fly when it's in a toy form, but you know what I mean. Like, when it was alive, it flew. So with it, it's got mouth opening, if you open it, mouth opening, neck movement, and slight rotation. Full 360, so it can flap forwards. It can flap forwards. It can flap and 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 flap for a very long time. And then when it wants to go backwards, it goes flap and flap and flap and flap and flap and flap and flap. And then down, flap and flap and flap and flap and flap and flap and flap. And then up is flap and flap and flap and flap and flap. Also, it has some foot articulation, and that's about all, except for the wing code, because the feet don't have enough space for a foot code. So next we have a velociraptor. Probably Charlie by the appearance. Possibly not, due to the fact that it's rolling around. So this velociraptor in a hunting pose, looking very nice. A nice green colour. A good hunting pose for it, but not very good when you want to play with it sometimes. But it can be quite good. So it's got mouth articulation, hand articulation, foot articulation, no tail articulation except a little bit wobbly, and foot code. So next up on our list we have my favourite of them all, my Ankylosaurus. He is pretty cool. He is also a roarable, so he has a button to activate a sound as well as an action, which in his case is a swing of the tail when not thrown off balance by a leg falling out from underneath him. And for articulation, full 360 head rotation, leg movement, and you can swing the tail if you want, and you can get some very nice speed with it. And in case you're wondering, I am actually swinging it. There. Right in front of you. It disappeared. Magic. And if you want the best QR code in the Jurassic World Facts app, or one of the best, depending on what colour you want of Ankylosaurus, depending on your colour choices of Ankylosaurus, because there are a few. But this guy's green and grey. A very nice green. Well, it's a good looking green on him, I reckon. Good. Next up we have the Allosaurus, also a roarable. Doesn't really like to stand up. Its roaring ability is to chomp and roar at the same time, but its roar is not complete because its batteries are running out. And also it has full 180 degree rotating hands, as well as moving legs. No moving tail, even though that is required to add on during assembly, or assembling the Allosaurus. And here you go, the foot code of Allosaurus, or as, what was his name? I forgot. One of the boys in Jurassic World, in the Jurassic World, would say Allosauruses, yeah, if I remember that correctly, Allosauruses from Dinosauruses. Next up, we have a very old, slightly injured Dilophosaurus. Now, only one of its frills work, and it is missing its poison thing or venom thing. So it is unable to have its venom and unable to move its frill because its frill was broken, so it got hot glued on, I think, or super glued. So, with articulation, very basic, arm rotation, leg rotation. Next up, as the last dinosaur we are going to cover in this video, we have Velociraptor Blue. Velociraptor Blue has been remade many times, but this is probably the first blue made, or the first model of blue made. Not the first blue made, that would cost like from Mattel, because otherwise the first blue made would have probably cost $1 bajillion. So blue, pretty cool. I actually got blue after watching Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom for the first time in cinemas, and then I went to Big W, and right out the front they had Velociraptor Blue, and we actually got it. So yeah, that's the story of how I got this blue. I remember it. And for articulation, opening and closing mouth, rotating arms and legs, no rotating tail, but overall very cool. And here we go, the one last code. And there you go. That is all my Jurassic World dinosaurs that I have, who are now in a very unorganized pile. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.